Good evening, everyone. I'm Archit Seshadri. Thanks so much for watching WION, this special report, Global Cyber Attack. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to break it all down for you and explain what exactly is this new WannaCry cyber attack, which countries are impacted, and who is to blame for the largest cyber attack, according to security officials, and what exactly you need to do at home to protect yourself. So first, let's break all of this down, make it much more simpler, because most of us don't really understand the impacts. Well, what exactly did this cyber attack involve? Well, it affected banks, hospitals, cinemas in more than 150 countries around the world. In fact, more than 300,000 computers were hit by the global cyber attack since just last Friday. The White House says less than $70,000 has been paid in ransoms. The ransomware attack, known as WannaCry or WannaCrypt, has slowed down over the weekend, so some good news. Reports suggest that no U.S. federal systems were affected. Researchers have also found new evidence that could link the WannaCry cyber attacks with North Korea. South Korea-based Harry Labs has found the same code in an earlier version of the WannaCry software. It also appeared in programs used by the Lazarus Group, which is a North Korea-run hacking operation. Two other labs had previously linked the global cyber attack with North Korean hacks. U.S. and European security officials say it is too early to say who may be actually behind the attacks, but they still have not ruled out North Korea as a suspect. Well, to get perspective on this story, we're joined by tech editor Ankit Tuteja, joining us right here in the New Delhi studio. Ankit, thanks for joining us. Certainly scary news, being the biggest attack. Break this down in layman's terms for us. How big, in fact, is this cyber attack, and what do people need to do?
Yeah, as you rightly said, it's the biggest ransomware cyber attack in the history. So what happened exactly was, first we need to understand what is ransomware, because we have different types of malicious software.
Right.
So ransomware is basically a type of malicious software that infects your computer and locks all the files that are there on your computer. It encrypts all the files so that you can't access any of them. And then you are given a message on your screen that you need to pay a designated sum for you to decrypt those files and access them back again.
So it's almost like saying your files on your laptop or your computer are being held hostage, if you like.
Absolutely.
And you have to pay these hackers or the cyber attackers a fee to get that. But you know, it really looks like so many countries impacted, 150 countries, 300,000 computers. I mean, what went wrong? How did this become so widespread?
So basically, as the reports are coming out, and as it has been reported by a lot of agencies also, and government officials as well, hackers actually exploited one of the security flaws that is there in the Microsoft operating system, older operating system, Windows XP. We all have used Windows XP.
Right.
But many people have moved to the upgraded systems, newer system, but some people are still using Windows XP. So people who are using older versions of Microsoft's operating system, for that matter, Windows XP or 8 or Windows Server 2003 for that matter, all of them have been hit. Not all of them, but yeah, most of them.
A good bunch of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So it's basically hackers have exploited one of the security flaws in those operating systems, and they actually use the security flaw for their advantage.
All right.
And apparently that security flaw, so basically it's still unknown who are behind these
some allegations in North Korea, but still no clear-cut evidence.
No clear-cut information as to who is behind these attacks. But yeah, it's being reported that basically a document from NSA was leaked. So if you look at it, I think in this case, NSA is to be blamed, not Microsoft for that matter, because government shouldn't be stockpiling security flaws. If this is the case, if I were the agency and I figured out something like this, I would go to the company, in this case Microsoft for that matter, so that they release a security patch or they release a fix for that. But when you stockpile security flaws, they are prone to be hacked. And that's what happened in this case.
All right, we have another guest joining us to get perspective on this story. Let's go to our second guest to discuss the global cyber attack. We have Pradipto Chakrabarti, the Regional Director of Compactia India, joining us right now. Thanks so much for your insights. Let's get right into it. We just heard from Ankit your thoughts about how widespread did this get? I mean, the largest cyber attack to hit so many countries, so many computing systems. Quite a shock indeed to people all around the globe. Pradipto?
Hi. I was just listening to what Ankit was saying, and just wanted to a quick update that Microsoft did launch the patch sometime in March. But I think what Ankit just mentioned was that a lot of those systems were not upgraded. That's one. In terms of the spread, I heard a new term being coined, which is ransomware worm,
Right.
which means that like a worm, this is very unique case. This is a very unique and very standalone kind of an attack, which actually automatically detects vulnerable systems and then spreads itself within the LAN. And one of the things that I have to say is that, with the perimeter of your secured systems being blurred now, with people accessing multiple, basically the home and the office is kind of blurred. The personal and the office usage of computing is blurred. So therefore, it actually spreads out faster. I mean, all virus attacks or all malwares do spread more faster than what it was earlier. But the fact of the matter is that it's very unique, very widespread. And we are happy that, it was not as widespread as it was expected to be in India.
And luckily slowing down a little bit. We'll continue the conversation in just a second, but let's sort of break this down and make it a lot simpler, sort of giving you an explanation. As we just mentioned, the whole world got a huge shock, a rude awakening this weekend when that ransomware that was infected online impacted countries all around the world. But how exactly did it spread? How does it work? Well, let's break all of that down in this report. Sahil Maniktala explains.
At first, it looked like an attack just on hospitals in the United Kingdom. But now it's become clear that this malicious software has run rampant around the world. France, Spain, the United States, Russia, India, and many points in between have been hit by a common form of cybercrime known as ransomware. This particular ransomware has been dubbed as WannaCry, and its objective is simple: to extort money from victims. But how exactly does WannaCry work? Well, it often arrives in the form of a link in an innocuous-looking email. When you click on that link, the malicious WannaCry software is downloaded and spreads rapidly through your network, looking up all the files on it. Then a message flashes up on screen warning that if you want your data unlocked, you will have to pay a ransom, often in Bitcoin, the virtual currency. There is no guarantee that you will get your files back if you pay the ransom. Security experts believe that a hacking tool allegedly leaked from America's National Security Agency in April may have been used by the attackers. But here's the irony. Microsoft warned about the threat that this vulnerability posed and said anyone who installed a security update to Windows software the previous month should be fined. Intelligence services in most countries have confirmed that they found no evidence of a second wave of attacks since the initial global invasion on Friday. The badly affected National Health Service of the UK said now only 7 out of 47 trusts that were hit were still facing serious issues. In Asia too, the spread was reportedly slowing, with banking systems largely unaffected. America's Homeland Security has also confirmed that no US federal government systems were affected. It seems WannaCry ransomware attacks seems to be slowing down, but the fear still remains. The world now faces what could be a lengthy process of cleaning up its computers and making networks safe again. Bureau Report, WION.
All right, let's now go to Pavan Dogal, a cyber law expert, to get more perspective on this story. Pavan, thanks for joining us tonight as we talk about the global cyber attack. Quite a huge impact. Let's also break this down much simpler. How do people at home protect themselves? What do they need to do at this point?
First and foremost, they need to identify whether the system has been a victim of this attack or not. And it's going to be apparent when they put the systems on. If they are not getting this classical message, which is telling them that their files have been decrypted, that's good enough signal to the fact that the system has not yet been attacked. So if the system has not yet been attacked, the first and the foremost thing that's required to be done is to take a backup of all the data information that's resident on the said system. Why? Because at the end of the day, whether it's WannaCry or whether it's going to be any other ransomware, they will ultimately be targeting the data and information because they would want to encrypt that and get money to the ransom because of this. And consequently, if we are able to take a backup of the data, that will ensure that even if the system is attacked, you have something to fall back upon. That's the first. Second, in case, if you are a user of any device, any computer, any laptop that's using the Windows operating system, then putting in the latest patches and security updates become of critical necessity. These include the updates that were issued by Microsoft in March 2017,
right,
and as late as last Friday. In addition, I think we ultimately will have to start looking in a direction where we will have to start adopting safe hygiene habits. We have to inculcate cyber security as a way of life. We will need to be more careful. Needless to say, you will need to require a good antivirus and a good firewall, but having safe hygiene habits in terms of cyberspace issues will be essential. For example, not opening up untoward emails or attachments which are coming from people that you don't know, transacting on safe websites, and more significantly, having repeated backups and being alive to the basic fact that these attacks have now initiated the dawn of a new era.
Right.
An era where these kinds of international attacks will now keep on happening. So the focus has to be coming back on cyber resilience, on ensuring that we are ready and prepared for the next round of attacks as and when they take place.
All right, let's go to Pradipta Chakraborty to continue the conversation. Pradipta, as we talked about, this could just be the tip of the iceberg. The fact that this was, for right now, the biggest global cyber attack. I mean, more could be coming. It slowed down over the weekend. Wasn't as bad as people expected it on Monday. I mean, how big is that risk, that fear? What do people and agencies need to do to make sure that this doesn't really happen again? Or is this really foolproof at all?
Well, first of all, I would say that, hacking will go on. It's a pervasive thing. Hackers always have an incentive to work on it. They will keep on doing it. I always put an analogy of a football game. I mean, you need to be a good defender in this particular case. Your goalkeeper needs to be strong. And so therefore, what I feel is that preparedness is the key to success. Till now, whenever you go to the systems, when you talk about skills that people have around the area of cybersecurity, it was more from an attack standpoint, that I will attack my system and I will check how strong my system is.
Right.
However, one small thing that we forget is that I'm able to find out one way to attack and figure out that the system is foolproof. The hackers by the time come up with some other system. So therefore, what we need to do is more on the defensive side. Till now, most of the skills that people have developed are on the area of penetration testing, which is basically exactly what I just spoke about. But overall, growingly, it is getting more importance of creating a strong defense. I think that's the more critical thing, and we need to work on basic things like vulnerability analysis and add a lot of data analytics to identify. First of all, not 100%, but kind of able to predict what kind of attacks are going to come. Second is identify them, and third is provide an immediate solution. And I think that whole thing encompasses the skills in the area of cyber defense. I think that should be like what Pawan said. It has to be a way of life, And when you're talking about system administrators, if you see. It's actually, if you the case of NHAs as well, the system administrators were the people who were, who kind of missed out on, putting across those patches and safeguarding the system. So therefore, we need to have very strong system administrators who are expert in cyber defense. I think preparedness, as I said, is the call of the hour.
All right, interesting perspective there. Let me now go over to Ankit Tateja to get more perspective. Ankit, really at this point, no one has taken responsibility, no one has come out and said that, but who does take the blame? I mean, who is to blame with regards to the biggest, at least for now, the global cyber attack? I mean, North Korea, some fingers being pointed there. Who dropped the ball on this?
In this particular case, I would say first NSA, because they didn't need to stockpile all the security flaws. Had it not happened, it wouldn't have been leaked, it wouldn't have been exploited by hackers.
It was stolen, yeah.
And at the same time, users who didn't upgrade to the systems, who didn't make the most of the security patches, because Microsoft released the security patch in March for Windows XP and older versions of Microsoft operating system. But a lot of people didn't upgrade to the newer versions of system. And today they're facing the music.
Now they're sort of dealing with it. And again, as we heard from some people, just, not the hospitals or the banks or the airports, the businesses, but people at home perhaps. Is that the lessons learned, to make sure you're always updating things and backing up your files? I mean, what more could people do to not become a victim of a cyber attack? I mean, nobody really thinks about they're going to be a victim online because everybody's always on the internet doing banking or shopping or Facebook or whatever it is. But you don't realize that those files that you have, whether it's important documents, resumes, pictures, whatever it is, anybody and everybody is really vulnerable. So any other takeaways that people can maybe, sort of grasp at?
So a couple of tips maybe. First, make the most of the security patch. I mean, Microsoft recently issued a security patch. Just use it, install it, update it. Keep upgrading to the latest security software.
Right.
Always take the backup of your important files. So in case if something like this happens, you have all the important stuff with you in the form of a backup. Never click on the suspicious emails. If you think something is suspicious and if you suspect it in some way, like in terms of a download attachment or even the title of the mail, don't click on it.
Don't open it.
Yeah. And also in the case of ransomware, never pay the money to hackers, because in a way you're encouraging it. You are paying the money, but you don't know. They're going to decrypt your files. They're going to allow you to decrypt the files.
Or have kept a copy of it.
Yeah. And also they can ask you for more money. For example, if I give the money and they might come up with something like, oh, we need more money for you to decrypt. So in a way you're encouraging, and there's no guarantee to it as to you would be getting the stuff back. They might also delete it totally.
And interestingly, they didn't charge a whole lot, did they? I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it was a couple $100s. I think the whole amount in the White House said it was about $70,000. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a whole lot of money given that 150 countries and so many 300,000 computers impacted. So not a whole lot, but still surprising.
And also maybe it's a trap for you. They want your banking details. So if you transfer the money, they also have access to your banking details.
Right.
So just be smart, and a couple of tips that I just shared might help you in making your system more secure.
Make you a little bit more careful so you do not become a victim. Well, let's continue getting you another perspective. The ransomware, the WannaCry ransomware, as we mentioned, impacting more than 150 countries and many big organizations around the world as well. Let's take a look at the impact right here in India.
When it comes to cyber attacks, geographical boundaries are never a deterrent. While Europe has been the worst hit by the WannaCry ransomware attack, India has also been affected by this cyber attack, which targets outdated systems running on old versions of the Microsoft operating system. 3 days after the malicious software hit computers across the world, several machines in the power distribution company of India's West Bengal state were attacked by this ransomware. The attack was detected in 4 offices in the West Midnapur district, affecting computers in the blocks of Belda, Daton, Narayangarh and Keshiari.
They virally affected our computers in 4 customer care center. But so long we have our central server, we are getting the information from that server and we are attending all the problems, that is collection of money, any fault affected in the area, we are getting the information from the central server.
Not only West Bengal, the WannaCry ransomware attack has also affected computers in some parts of Kerala and Andhra Pradesh. India's Information Technology Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad confirmed the attacks in different parts of the country, but claimed that there was no serious impact on India. He said that necessary steps are already in place to guard against such attacks.
As per our information up to date, there has been isolated incidents in very limited areas in Andhra Pradesh and in a very limited area in Kerala. But we have been updating our whole security measures since March itself.
Cybersecurity experts, on the other hand, claim that the attack has affected a large number of computers in many Indian organizations. Reports claim that WannaCry has hit around 45,000 computers in India, and therefore different sectors from banking to telecom to aviation and power all have been kept on high alert to prevent more damage. The impact of the cyber attack in India may not be as big as it is seen in other countries, but it is definitely a wake-up call, largely because the vulnerable Microsoft Windows XP is still widely used in India. In fact, over 70% of Indian ATMs run on the same operating system. Necessary steps are said to have been taken by banks and ATMs have been made safe, but then again, it's not foolproof. Though the cyber attack has proved less severe than anticipated in India and other Asian countries, industry professionals have flagged potential risks in the future. In New Delhi with Ankit Tuteja, Aisha Sindhu, WION.
All right, let's go to Ankit Tuteja, who filed that report to get more clarity on that. Ankit, is India really ready for an attack like this? I mean, how widespread, going forward, can India, do anything and perhaps learn from the Western world how to protect itself from such a large cyber attack?
We have seen a couple of incidents in the states of West Bengal, Kerala and Andhra Pradesh for that matter. But Ravi Shankar Prasad recently came up with a statement saying that there have been a couple of instances, but by largely we are sorted. Like we haven't been affected as much as countries in other parts of the world have been affected by this cyber attack. But at the same time, a couple of things keep bothering me. For example, over 70% of Indian ATMs still run Windows XP, the same operating system that has been hit by the cyber attack.
Right.
For now, the ATMs have been made safe to use, but I don't know how foolproof it is. It could be affected. Today we are talking about it. Tomorrow you never know what kind of reports can we get to see in India.
And what other hackers who might be more intelligent could do with that.
Yes, yes. So it's just an example. Like over 70% of Indian ATMs are running on the same operating system.
Right.
But largely, we haven't come across any such instances like outside. FedEx, the package delivery firm, it has been massively affected. Renault, the car company, it has been majorly affected. Spanish telecom company Telefonica,
right,
it has been affected like anything. But given the scale of, given the way the companies outside have been affected, we haven't come across any such instances in India. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that incident never took place. Maybe
right,
they were not reported.
Right, right.
So yeah.
So certainly a wait and watch game. Let me now go over to Pavan Dugal, who's standing by as well. One other big sector that was impacted with this, Pavan, was the healthcare sector. Many hospitals, a lot of confidential information, patient information. That is a huge industry around the world that was sort of bear the brunt of this attack. What do hospitals in the healthcare industry need to be more mindful of so that they are not victimized again? Pavan?
Very quickly, the hospital and the medical industries have to realize, in the Indian context, that their data is no normal data. It's not even personally identifiable data, but the Indian cyber law considers medical data as sensitive personal data or information. Now, once this is sensitive personal data or information, all these hospitals, nursing homes, and doctors who are handling, or processing such data are required to comply with Indian cyber law, including putting in place appropriate, reasonable security practices and procedures so as to protect the data from unauthorized access or disclosure. Now, clearly, the Indian cyber law has actually specified that ISO 27001 is one such example of reasonable security practices and procedures. But unfortunately, my practical working has shown that the majority of hospitals in India are complying with the Indian cyber law in breach rather than in compliance. In fact, there's often a mistaken notion that because in India there's no dedicated data protection law in place, neither is there a specific law on privacy, people can just go about doing anything.
Right,
but I think the
right.
Information Technology Act has now put in parameters which must be now complied with all the hospitals and the medical industry by large.
All right, let me go really quickly to Pradipta just before we wrap this up. Let's talk about the security breach notification laws between India and the United States and how different they are and how they differ. Perhaps can you shed some light on that and what perhaps needs to be done to improve that situation?
Sure. First of all, I'm not a legal expert like Pawan, but what I feel and I see and observe the difference is that we are sort of lagging behind in terms of setting up a real strong security infrastructure in the country. There are directives in the US there are presidential directives within the United States, which have identified critical infrastructure, and they have a command center, cybersecurity command center, and a coordination center. We have not seen much of those happening in India, although I must laud the government that there is a talk of cybersecurity command center. We heard Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad talking about that, and also the fact that we have allocated funds towards setting up a security infrastructure system within the country, which includes research and development and strengthening the security infrastructure of the country. But as of now, yes, we are not. I mean, cybersecurity is very much reactive in any case in nature. You know, you act once you are attacked. You know?
Right.
So we are learning the tricks of the trade. We are trying to do things which are good. I think one of the things that we should focus on is sort of skill development of the workforce. I think that's very critical, especially in government infrastructure, government systems. I feel honestly that people have lack of skills in modern security, cybersecurity measures. So I think those are my few inputs that I would like to provide to government and sort of differentiate between what we have and what is there in the West.
All right, and that does it for this discussion. We want to take a quick moment to thank all of our guests, Pawan Dugal, of course, Ankit Tuteja here in New Delhi, as well as Pradeepto Chakrabarti. We appreciate all of your insights and inputs on this special report about the global cyber attack. And that does it for us here on WION World is One News. We wrap things up here. Of course, we'll continue with more news and updates on the other side. I'm Archit Seshadri. Thanks for joining us. Good night.